first of all, introduce yourself, please, a little bit.
I play the Casio. I'm Clemens. Should I look at you or the camera? Or?
Good question.
I don't know how you normally do it.
So you can look at me.
Okay, so I'm Clemens. Clemens Ardek from Carach Angren. Horror metal, black metal bands from the Netherlands.
Okay. You released a new album now for, I think, a couple of months.
6 months.
6 months. Yeah. What's the difference, or the main difference between this album and the latest ones? Especially, what changed during the years from your first album to now?
Good question. We changed a lot. We started out as a more black metal sounding, symphonic black metal sounding project, but we always have been storytellers. So that is something that has grown with us over the albums and over the years. And we always go with what feels good, what inspires us in the moment. So it can be a story about the sea, like we did about the VOC, that came through a fandom ship, but it can be about war. Last album was really dark. This Is No Fairy Tale. It was based on Hansel and Gretel. And that album was a story from start to end. It was like one big song. And it was very dark and aggressive and dissonant sounding. So with the new album, Dance and Love Amongst the Rotten, we wanted a more melodic approach again, and we had different sub-stories in one big story. So that's the main difference.
Okay. You basically write your songs about fairy tales or stories and legends and all that stuff.
Yeah.
How do you get to these ideas, and how is the process of writing songs? How do you do that?
Yeah, it can differ. I mean, sometimes we come up with these things ourselves by just talking about it, or we read a book, or we see a movie, and we start combining themes. And on the last album, for example, Sergor came up with this story about Charles Francis Coughlin, about this coffin that went into the sea, and he one day he called me and he told me this story, and it like immediately hit me, and I started sitting at the piano, a different one than this. It doesn't matter, but all these themes come out, and so sometimes something can come up with only a couple of hours, and other times you're sitting for weeks, and you become older but nothing comes out. So it can be different things that inspire us, and you never know before. That's what's really cool about it. Yeah.
You really often use orchestra sounds.
Yes,
in nearly every song, and this is why a lot of people compare you with Dimmu Borgir.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be compared with this band?
Yeah, in the beginning we got compared a lot because you had a lot of bands doing this kind of music. And also when we started, we even had friends that said like, you're gonna do the face paint, blah, blah, blah. But we really believed that we could make it into something original, because we felt the storytelling thing was really something that was ours. And that we also develop on stage. We have the theatrics, we bring crazy stage props and stuff. So nowadays the comparisons aren't there anymore. It's also because those bands from the early 90s, we greatly respect them, but some of them don't release that much anymore, or sound different now. And also I'm not trying to be like that exactly. I use the orchestral sounds because they are serving the story or the composition. Also in the last album I used even crazy things like theremin or like old synthesizers. So it's not like that it has to be orchestral, but for example, again, the song like Charles Francis Coughlin, you want this epic sea represented in the composition, and there's no better way than to use the orchestra to do that. So
you told a little bit about the face paint, and now you sit here without any, and a lot of bands always like, different to explain. They always say they're a band and they have special image.
Yes, yeah.
For example, Dimmu Borgir, Behemoth, and all this famous black metal bands. And there comes to my mind the idea, what's about you? Are you allowed to, laugh in public maybe, or are you an evil horror metal band which is always angry?
No, absolutely not. We actually just plain guys from Holland, but on stage we want to do everything to entertain and to make it a great experience also for ourselves with everyone in. So the paint and all the clothes we wear and the things we bring, they are part of this integral show. So, but out of there, you know, yeah, it's not a problem. We are not
just normal guys.
Yeah, exactly. You see me, I don't have anything to hide, and bands that do that, that's okay. And some bands they thrive on this cult kind of thing, you know, and that's great. But we are different from that. So, yeah, our idea is to make a great show, make great albums, and do everything that helps to get that message across. So, yeah.
Okay. Wait. Here's a good one. You know, of course, you know Spotify, right?
Yeah.
And you know what crowdfunding is as well.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of bands who, say, oh my God, crowdfunding is horrible to record an album or just to earn money for an album, and it's the same bands which say that Spotify is horrible as well for the life as musician. What do you think about Spotify and crowdfunding and all the stuff?
Yeah, that's a very good question.
Thanks.
I mean, we talked about it
earlier.
earlier.
What's your idea?
Thank you. We talked about it earlier, you know, with some different musicians. And I think Spotify is the future because, you know, before record labels and the music industry was basically in charge of sales, and what they would do is, for example, have summer hits. I'll give you an example. So the idea was to sell as much records, physical records, as possible in 2 months. And after that, no one cared what happened to the song.
Yeah.
And with Spotify, I mean, the more the song gets played, the more, as a songwriter, I'm, you know, basically a songwriter, you earn in the long run. So now it's interesting again to make compositions that people like and go over and over again. You know, if you make a good song, maybe 20 years from now, you know, as a musician, you can still make money from it. Although it's little, I must admit that it's like I don't know, the rate is very low. But I'm a positive guy. I tend to be, you know, positive about this. I like to see the development. As for crowdfunding, for me, it doesn't feel right to go out and make a dramatic video that I'm poor, and you know, it's just not me. I see some bands do that, and they you know, make a lot of money. But I would feel not so good about that myself. You know, it's like this begging kind of mentality. So, you know, we just like to work hard and find ways to get money in and to be able to do this, and we're grateful for all the things we can do. But to just say like, hey, we need help for this, it doesn't fit our personality. But you know, some bands like that road and they should take it. That's great, but not for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think? What's the best color of the rainbow and why?
The best color of the rainbow?
Best color of the rainbow.
Black? Oh no, it's not in there. Well, yeah, the idea is that it's the prisma, right? It's like white light broken down. So this is a philosophical question. I have no idea what to say to that right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your favorite color of the rainbow?
My favorite color.
Not the best, but the favorite.
Well, I'm a black, into black things. It's not in the rainbow, but I like black as a color.
Maybe blue because it's a little bit.
It gets a bit darker. Yeah, I like red too. You know.
Really?
Yeah, I like.
Because of blood and.
The blood and the goats that get slaughtered.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. No, yeah, red, dark red, and black. I like that as a color. But I'm not really a materialistic guy. I don't really value materialistic things, or it's probably because of touring you get easier and easier with stuff. And yeah, so for example, I have a red car, but I never wanted a red car. But now I have one, so I like that one. So if someone would give me a yellow car, I would think, okay, that's nice. That's how the human psychology works, probably. Yeah.
A lot of bands change their musicians more often than they change
their shoes.
Yeah. But you're still the same guys from the beginning on.
Yeah.
What's your secret for that?
We fight a lot, no? No, yeah, I mean, I'm very grateful. I have my brother in the band, and that's really cool because you're family, you know, you can have difference, but you still remain family in the end. And Dennis Sergo is also like family. So, and what's really important is we are very different. For example, my brother and is very into technical stuff. He's very mechanic, he comes up with these great things that we use on stage, and he's the drummer, so, and he's very rational. He's not really emotional. For example, Sergio is really emotional, so sometimes, you know, you collapse or you have different opinions, but that's good, because in the end of the day, after all these years of working and touring, you know what each other's value is in the writing process, in the touring process, and you know, no one is overlapping. For example, I'm really a songwriter, so I want to write stuff and not having to compete with a lot of people with ideas. So I'm really grateful the guys give me that opportunity to do the basic compositions. And you know, Sergio is like an actor. You can give him the stage and he's there. So and so we all know our qualities, and we all know where we need each other. So and you know, we live off this now, so we know it's important and we value it. And yeah, so it's like a machine, and we rely on each other. So yeah, that's basically the answer, I think.
Yeah, many journalists, or I read a lot of reviews about your last album, and many journalists, as well as me, think that this album is the best from your,
That's great,
from all
yeah.
of your albums. I think I wrote a 10 point of 10 review, I think.
Awesome.
10 or 9, something like that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What do you think when you hear from many people that this album is just kick-ass?
Yeah, that's really awesome. I mean, with the previous album you had like divisions, like some people really liked it and some really didn't like it.
Nothing in between.
There was not much in between, yeah. And I was really proud about this one, because I had this vision about it, like I want to make it really epic, melodic, and when I was writing it, you know, I always say, like, when I'm doing this behind the computer or the piano or whatever, it feels good to bring it out. I never settle. Like, sometimes I hear albums and I'm like, yeah, okay, it's an 8 or a 7, but you know, you want the best. And so it's really a great feeling when you make all this stuff together in a small room, and then in the end, people really seem to value it too. So that's really awesome. So yeah, I expected it, I hoped for it, and then it just happened. So that was really cool. Yeah. I'm really proud of it.
I think the time is over. Yes, it is.
All right.
So, do you have any famous last words do you want to say, or maybe a small jingle for the end, something like that?
Yeah, maybe we can do a small thing. Let's see what happens. What shall we do? We can do a bit of Google maybe.
Special private show.
Yeah, private show. So yeah, glad to be back in Germany. Hope to see you guys tonight. Thanks for the interview.